What's going on, guys? Welcome back. We are talking about the regional championships and predicting the bracket as best that we can. And very important games this weekend. Obviously, every single one is a best of 7. And the first 2 games probably most important. But then you're trying to win your regional championship, win that $10,000, and as well get a really good seeding going into the season championship. Last season, the 2 number 1 seeds made it all the way through the upper bracket at least, and the lowest that one of them placed was Energy. They placed 3rd, so maybe seeds matter, but at the same time, Northern Gaming came in as a 4 and then won the whole thing. So who knows? But it's still pretty helpful in that first round matchups where you want to try and pick and choose your opponents a little bit more if you're on the NA side or the EU side or even the OCE side. Like if you get a 4 seed from North America or Europe, you will fall down and play one of the OCE teams, which we have seen those teams show up at LAN. So let's get into it. We'll go over what I think the games will go through. This isn't going to be a very long video. Like I'm not going to get too in-depth here. I'm just going to kind of go through what I think is going to happen. And yeah, let's get it done. So first game, we'll start with North America. As always, we have Energy versus Rogue, and I feel like the one thing that pissed me off last week, besides being sick and couldn't be able to be on the show, was how Jacob tweeted that literally this game means nothing to them. And I was, when they were playing Cloud9, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? That's insane. I would much rather play a FlyQuest team than a Rogue team, and so that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. He probably was meaning a little bit more towards the semifinals where, like, no matter what, they would play Cloud9, because if they would have won, it would have put them both down into the 2-3 range. But still, trying to get the better opponent in the most important game of the entire season, I would say that's pretty goddamn important. But they get Rogue here. Rogue has been super solid this entire season, but the only problem is we know exactly where they are. They've lost to all teams above them. They've beaten all teams below them. They look good here or there. They look like they have a lot of speed going, and their offense is pretty decent, but then they struggle sometimes on the defensive side and get a little confused. Like, I feel like Insolences, he's been great for them on the offensive side. On the defensive side, it hasn't been as great. We'll see in this matchup. Energy is a team that is not known to put up a large amount of goals, so that could help Rogue if Rogue can get out to a decent lead, but it does seem like when Energy needs to score, they do. They find a way. They haven't had the greatest season, obviously, Fireburner, Garrett, and Jacob. I still like them here. Like, I still think they're a really good team. They were extremely close to getting a bye, or at least having a chance to play for a bye. So I still like Energy here, so I'm going to give them the win. I think it'll be pretty close, though. I would say like a 4-2. This is not an easy matchup whatsoever, but I will go with Energy there. And they'll move on to play Cloud9, and they will be going to the World Championship, as all 3 of them will be 4-time LAN participants. There's not going to be many of those this season. It feels like there's been a big change in who's actually going to make it this season compared to last season. So if they do make it, all 3 of them will be returning. On the other side, Sad Jr. trying to be a 4-time LAN boy, but it's going to be tough. FlyQuest in the same exact situation where they were in last season, where it looked not the greatest for them going into their matchup against G2, but they pulled it out and they got the win, even when Sad had to go mouse keyboard in one of the games. Ghost, though, has been one of those teams where I had doubts going into the season. I was like, I'm not sure if I would necessarily put them into the top 4 yet, you know, all that. And then, like, slowly throughout the season, like, Classics was in form basically from the start. I was like, all right. That's one puzzle piece, and I was like, I'm still a little bit worried about Zane Jackie. Then Zane Jackie, the last few weeks, has been playing pretty well, and I was like, all right, maybe this is a full, complete squad. I had faith in Lethemir. He's not, like, known to be the best, like, offensive player, necessarily, like, in the threes atmosphere. He kind of tends to let players around him do more, but he's still extremely solid, and I feel like this team is finally, like, a full puzzle, and a team that I can be confident in picking in this matchup and go into the World Championships. FlyQuest, like, they basically have no offense at all. They have Corrupted G, and then literally nothing else. Sad Jr. has been completely quiet this entire season. It's been a really, really bad season. It's probably his worst season yet, when I was looking forward to him maybe bouncing back after the offseason, where he was playing really well. He's going to have to step up in a big way. Chrome, he's been playing his support role here and there, trying to go for more bumps and all that stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It worked against G2 a couple weeks ago. So FlyQuest definitely can beat these teams. Like, they've beaten G2. And if you can beat G2, you can beat basically anyone in this field. So don't count them out, but I'm basically counting them out. I think Ghost will win this unless something happens where they start choking, where... Like last season, Genesis was looking really strong going into playoffs, and then they completely choked. And now it's two of the Genesis players playing each other, Classics versus Chrome. Who chokes more? I don't know. Chrome, honestly, the last time he was in the playoffs was probably the worst playoff performance I've ever seen. And I assume it won't be that bad this time. I assume he'll do a lot better. At least I'm hoping he does a lot better. But I think this series will be pretty one-sided just because there's no offense on FlyQuest. If they can't get Corrupted G a lot of goals, then they're screwed because it seems like Sad Jr. is not really doing much on the offensive side lately. So maybe Sad can pick it up and make it a series. But I have Ghost here pretty handily. All right, so that's your 4 LAN teams. It's the top 4 seeds. I'm not going anywhere crazy with this, but that's where we have it. We'll go C9 Energy next. And honestly, after last week, like, I understand the match didn't really mean a lot for either team, but C9 still was just like half playing around and get a reverse sweep. I think if C9's playing their best, they will take this series. They seem just like that the speed of them is just going to outclass a lot of these teams here. But C9 has had some faults before where, like, if they do get stuck in their own end, they have a hard time getting out if they don't have the boost able to do it because they're so used to just being able to go wherever they want. I think this is the time when Energy passes that torch to Cloud9 for Kings of the North, and Cloud9 takes this. We'll go 4-2 for this one. G2 versus Ghost. They just played last week. It was an extremely close set. It's very interesting with G2 because they haven't played in a super deep 2-1 system where Rizzo's like literally just playing net at this point. Almost. Like, he's like barely moving up. And it's an old school system, obviously, like way back in the days when I played, but it has been working for them, surprisingly. I think when G2 plays Europe later on, I think they could get eaten alive by trying to do this system, but they can adapt. We have seen Rizzo move up as well, so they might be able to adapt and change it up. It seems to be working here. This is going to be an extremely close series because, again, they just had a really close series between one another. This one's tough. You know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for Ghost here. I just feel like lately the whole team has become a complete package. And like G2 last time, like Ghost outplayed them for the most part throughout the series. Two overtimes G2 won. And then they obviously go on to win it. If any of those goals go differently, G2 or Ghost wins the series. And I think I'm going to go Ghost here. I think it'll be a close set. I'll go 4-2. It's just, I don't know if JNAPs can have those heroics once again. Or if something else slips up. Like if Rizzo's defense like slips up just slightly, then Ghost, we get an advantage off that. On the other side, we can also see Classics being quiet. Or Zane Jackie being quiet. And then that completely derails Ghost. So, it could go either way. But I'm going to go with the minor upset. I'm going to go with Ghost here. 4-2. And then C9 versus Ghost, like, honestly, I think C9 is the team to beat here. Even if they play G2, I think C9 would take this as well. I'm going to go pretty handily 4-1. We haven't actually seen these teams play because the one time they played, Blues was in for Lethamyr, so it wasn't really a great series. But I think Cloud9 is just too strong right now, and I think they'll take it 4-1. And it won't let me do the third place. Oh, here we go. Now, Energy versus G2 for the third place match. This one's tough. I think G2's best chance to move up is through Ghost. I think they have a relatively nice bracket for them. G2 has beat Energy before. I think it depends what Energy we get. If Energy is still kind of lackadaisical, which is very possible, we could see Energy fall down to 4. This is tough. Again, this is like just like what you're feeling. There's not a lot to go on where it's like G2 just beat Energy, but Energy historically has been better. You know what? I'm gonna go G2 here. I'm gonna go. We'll go 4-3. Let's have a good epic 7-game series somewhere along here. And then we'll have G2 go through. I think Energy might still be in that lackadaisical phase. Hopefully they come out strong against Rogue at least for their own sake. But I think when it comes down to a third-place game, they might just be like, I don't really care that much. And that might hurt them as well. Also, G2, when they play Ghost, now this is one thing I would like for them to change in the bracket system. I'm not sure if this is going to be the order. Like, honestly, I have no idea. But I would love to see the 1-4 matchup be played in the second semifinal. So you don't get... Because in the bronze match, whoever loses that game will get an advantage. I guess, technically, you might want to do the 2-3. Because you want the 3 to have a better chance than the 4. And that's what you expect to happen. But if the 1 loses, you would want that to win. So I guess this is the right order. But basically, if you play the second semifinal, you play 2 games in a row, and that usually helps a lot. It's at least like a 56% chance to win, by just on that factor alone, based off previous league plays. So I think for that reason, I think G2 also has a good chance to at least open it up pretty strong and get the win. So that's what I'm going to go with here, guys. We're going to go Cloud9 number 1, Ghost number 2, pulling up some upsets here, G2 number 3, and Energy number 4. And let's move over to Europe. Now, of course, my predictions might change on the day. It's really going to come down to the series prior, like how these teams are looking. Because we, at least for the tournament, we pick like 2 minutes before each match because we can't pick early enough. Because obviously we don't know what the matchups are. So keep that in mind. Usually for Pick'em, we pick at the start of the day or even earlier. So it's a little different there. Let's go over to Europe, though. Mocket Excel. Like, Mocket obviously looked really strong last week. They beat Excel in 5 games, and then they destroyed Team Secret. I expect this to be close. I expect Mocket to win this. I think Excel was one of those teams everyone's like, oh, they have a chance to top 2. And honestly, I fell into this trap a little bit, too. I picked Excel in Pick'em mostly as a safe pick because me and Wave were in the lead. I was like, Mocket can definitely do this. And I definitely have had more faith in Mocket this season than I think a lot of people have had. But I think I fell into that trap of, oh, Excel has a chance to top 2. I really want to see that match happen. And then I picked Excel. I think Mocket has a really strong case here. They've been playing really well. They had 1 bad week, I feel like. And besides that, they've been playing really strong. So I'm going to go Mocket here pretty confidently. I'm going to go like a 4-1. Because they've just been playing really well. Like, I understand last week, the Team Secret match really doesn't matter. But the Excel match was good. It was close, but I think Mocket can make it even better this time around and beat Excel 4-1. Gale Force flip side. It's a sad day when one of these teams will not make LAN. It could be the end of flip side. Gale Force is like so strong. I thought last week when they played Envy was one of their best showings of just like possession game. Lots of back passes, lots of just controlling the ball, not necessarily having to worry about trying to get an offensive chance as long as the other team doesn't get one. Just keep that ball possession until something opens up. Violent Panda, I feel like, has had an amazing season. He's been performing extremely well. I think everyone's talked about K-Dop and Turbo going into the Gale Force roster, but I feel like Violent Panda is that star on this team, and he's been performing insanely. So he was actually 3rd in my MVP voting for the league play. So for that reason, I have Gale Force. Gale Force and Flipside was a close series last time. I don't think it'll be close this time. I think Gale Force will come out strong. I think they will know what they're up against versus Flipside this time around. Flipside's looked okay with Cooks here. Like, he's looked really good. Mystic's looked okay. Marky's looked okay as well. They haven't looked amazing yet, but it is playoffs, so anything can happen with Flipside. But I think Gale Force is going to not let this get crazy, and they're going to win pretty cleanly 4-1. Next up, so these are our 4 LAN teams. Again, top 4 seeds. I'm pretty boring here. Method, Mocket, PSG, Gale Force. Method, Mocket. Method's been really good. I thought they were going to like sweep PSG back 2 weeks ago. And then they play in Pro Rivalry this week and beat them 8-1. They won 8 games in a row versus PSG. So I was off by 2 weeks, guys. I was so close. I really like Method. I think Method is one of the strongest teams in Europe right now, if not the strongest. I don't think Maka can hang here. I think Method is just way too fast, way too good. I'll give Method a 4. I think Method is just way too fast, way too good. I'll give Method a 4. I think Method is just way too fast, way too good. I'll give Method a 4. I think Method is just way too fast, way too good. I'll give Method a 4. I think Method is just way too fast, way too good. I'll give Market 2 games because I feel like Market's been surprising here or there. But I expect Method to win this. This could very easily be a sweep, but I'll give Market 2 games out of respect for Market. PSG Gale Force. I still think PSG is rated too highly. They've won their games, and they've actually won some of them pretty convincingly, but a lot of them have been like 5-game series. Chaussette's had a really good season. I really like what he's doing. He's personally my MVP for the season. The plays he's been making are very surprising compared to last year when he wasn't doing that great. But he's like really taken this team just on his back and done some great things. Bluey's one of those players. He does wild stuff, and it works because I feel like a lot of people have to worry about Bluey, then they forget about Chaussette. And Bluey's also been very unselfish of a player as well. He's been going for a lot of goalie plays as well. As soon as he sees one of his teammates trap it down, he goes to the goalies. I feel like Farah has had an okay season. Like he comes in and finishes goals, but he hasn't really done a lot to impress me this season compared to maybe last. He's probably the weak link on the team, in my opinion. But at the same time, Gale Force with Turbo, K-Dop, and Violent Panda, they're starting to look like the old Gale Force. I think the possession game that I saw versus Envy was like, that could be scary for a lot of these teams. I really like Gale Force. I've liked them all season. I've been talking them up. Even though they lost 2 Game 5s, they lost to Method and PSG, and that's why they're not one of the top seeds here. It's so close. But I have Gale Force here. I'm going to go like 4-1 as well. I think it'll be pretty convincing. PSG, I think it's great that they made it, but I just don't think they're one of the best teams in Europe. But they keep surprising me, so maybe they'll surprise me again. I think Gale Force will take the win here. Method versus Gale Force. I forgot to put the third place game here, so let's just go over that real quick. Market versus PSG. I still think PSG is slightly better than Market. It should be a really close set, but again, PSG is playing back-to-back games in this scenario. So I think I'm going to have to go with PSG here over Market. It'll probably be a close set. Like this one could go 7. It really depends what Market shows up to, because Market's been one of those teams. They've had on weeks and they've had off weeks. So I'm going to go PSG here. I'm going to go probably 4-2. But Market has a chance here. Like, I think they do. But PSG 4-2, third place game. Sorry, I forgot to add it on the sheet. Next up, we have Method versus Gale Force for the #1 spot. Both of these teams are insanely good. They've been playing really well. I'm going to go with Gale Force here. I just think Gale Force is going to take it. It's tough. It's really tough. Both these teams are really, really strong, but I think Gale Force will just sneak it out. I like the defense that Gale Force brings. The same with Method, too. They both have insanely good defense, but I think Gale Force has a chance to apply more pressure as long as they cut off a lot. Like, if you can cut off a lot in that midfield where he's trying to cherry pick, then Gale Force should have an easy time. And Gale Force is one of those teams that can cut off a lot of things. So I expect Gale Force to win this. It'll be close, though. I'll go 4-3 just for epic purposes. And there you have it, guys. We have Gale Force #1. We have Method #2, PSG #3, and Market #4. So that would mean Gale Force would face Energy. We're just going to minus out OCE for right now, but like OCE's in there, and they couldn't do some upsets. But just for the sake of it, it'd be Gale Force versus Energy. I think Gale Force would win that. I'm only going to do the first rounds here. Method would then play G2. I think Method is going to destroy G2. I think that's one of those series where G2 can get eaten alive by playing too far back. And so I would have Method here in a clean sweep, 3-0 for Method. Gale Force Energy, probably like a 3-1. Like, I think Energy can hang, but I think Gale Force too strong. And then we have PSG versus Ghost. I think that's one of those series where Europe can steal it away. It depends how this works out. Like, that might be the series either way, but just based on where they wind up. I would probably like PSG here as well. We'll go in 5. It just depends. Like, Ghost, I feel like Classics obviously had one really bad land. Zane's had a good land. And Lethamir had a pretty rough land as well. So Ghost might be a little bit hurting when it comes to land. But hey, That's why you go to your first one, right? To just figure it out, and then usually after that, it gets a lot better. But I would give it to PSG here. And we'll go like 3-1 there. And then the last game would be Market versus Cloud9. I think Cloud9 would do pretty well in this matchup. We'll go 3-1 for Cloud9. So only one North America will win one of their first round games, in my opinion, through my brackets. But it doesn't mean later on there's a lot of cool, interesting matchups that we might see in the lower brackets as well. That could be a lot of fun to watch. So the World Championships can be pretty insane, and hopefully the Regional Championships I got correct. Let's hope. But thank you guys so much for watching. Tell me why I'm wrong in the comments below. Tell me why you're right in the comments below. And, yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.